Hello and welcome back to Food to Go, the podcast brought to you by the New Food team in association with Merck. My name is Grace Gallop and I am the assistant editor of New Food, and I'm going to be your host for today's podcast. I'm so excited to be back in the recording studio today, as our latest episode is about a really hot topic in the food sector right now, and that is cell cultivation. There are so many exciting developments that are happening all over the world in this space, but we thought we would stray from the perhaps more frequently covered updates on the New Food website for today's episode. So today I am joined by Roee Nir, the co-founder and CEO of Forsea Foods, and he's going to be talking to me all about the development of cell-cultured unagi and the one-of-a-kind technology that his company is using to create the food of the future. I don't want to keep you waiting any longer, so let's dive straight into the interview. For today's episode, I am delighted to be joined by Roee Nir, the co-founder and CEO of Forsea Foods. Welcome to Food to Go, Roee.
Hi, Grace. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to be speaking with you today, especially as your company has been making some really exciting developments in the world of cultured meat. But before we get into that, let's go back to basics. So can you explain a little bit to our listeners about who you are and what is Forsea Foods?
Of course. I'm Roee Nir. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Forsea. I'm a biotech engineer with years of experience in food tech, biotech, and digital health. I also earned my MBA degree from the NYU Stern School of Business. And Forsea is a cell-cultured fish and seafood company with a very unique organoid technology that can produce cultured meat products. In our case, it's fish and seafood, in a very efficient and cost-effective way. Our first product is the meat of the freshwater eel, or the way that it's called in the East, unagi. It is an endangered species that cannot be bred in captivity and has a market potential estimated at billions of dollars.
Thank you so much for that background. That's a really great place to start. Again, I want to just take things back to basics and explain to our listeners, for those that don't know, in layman terms, what is cell cultivation and why is it becoming one of the most talked about topics in the food sector right now?
Cell cultivation is the practice of taking cells from an animal and then proliferating and differentiating them to food products. Once that you establish cell lines from specific species, you don't need to go back to the animal. You just can produce again and again the food product that you want to produce. And cultured meat companies are working on different type of food products, hamburgers, steaks, and so on. We work on fish and seafood, and our first product will be the fillet of a fish. In our case, it will be the freshwater eel.
Fantastic. And in terms of sustainability, how does this fit in and why is it so key moving forward?
Animal farming, whether the sterile animal or aquaculture, really damage the environment. Growing meat for food really impacts our ecological system in so many ways. In our case, Forsea is looking at species that are endangered or critically endangered, and there are more than 700 species, aquatic species, that are in such a condition. And whenever they disappear, they will really impact the ecological systems and will result in damaging the environment in a broader way.
I wanted to ask now, from beginning to end, can you talk us through the journey of developing cell-cultivated eel unagi?
We start from embryonic stem cells of fish, in our case unagi, but we also work on additional fish species. But what we start with is taking fertilized eggs immediately after they've been fertilized. So it's at the very beginning of their development, where it's only stem cells in these eggs. We collect them and we create cell lines from them. And once that we establish the cell lines from them, that means, when I say cell lines, I mean that we are able to keep these cells in a specific condition that maintains their ability to differentiate and proliferate. When we establish these cell lines, we start growing organoids from them in bioreactors, and they grow and proliferate to a biomass from which we build our final products, the fillet of the fish In our case, it's the unagi, the freshwater eel. And we are able to do that in a very consistent, monitored way and to reach finished products that are similar to the original products that the nature really produced.
When you say similar, is it the taste that's similar? Is it the visual aspects, or is it kind of the general product? It would be hard to tell the difference.
The food product that we prepared was unagi kabayaki. That is a Japanese dish which was similar in the texture, in the flavor to the original product. And our goal, of course, is also to do that at the same price level. And that's really the edge of our technology because we have developed the technology that will allow us to reach price parity to the original products.
We'll talk about price a little later on, but the creation process all sounds pretty technical, Roee. Can you share two of the biggest challenges you faced when developing the organoid technology for cultivating fish tissue?
Happy to do that. So we've been dealing with really deep technology tasks because, for years, development biology scientists have always researched mammalian cells. And until the eruption of cultivated meat or cultivated fish and seafood, there was no real reason to research how you do cell cultures for fish. And what we did is, really developed real new science around what we're doing. So we learned ourselves how to isolate and make cell lines from fish and seafood. There was no background science about that, especially about pluripotent stem cells and embryonic stem cells. And at the same time, we also applied technologies, the organoid technologies that my co-founder developed in Tel Aviv University, Professor Iftach Nachman. We also took this technology that he developed on mammalian cells and applied it and made the modification required to do it on fish cell lines. All our technologies are patented, and we are the only one in the world that really developed such deep tech, robust technologies on fish cell lines.
New Food covers a lot of cultivated meat updates, but what is this new science that sets you apart? So, how does Forsea's organoid technology differ from other cell cultivation methods in the food sector right now?
So, the common practice of cultured meat is working on protocols of directed differentiations, which means that cells are directed to be a specific cell type, for example, muscle or fat. Our technology really focuses on helping stem cells form 3D microtissues, organoids, that spontaneously differentiate to the edible cells altogether, just like in nature. And by that, we achieve several remarkable advantages. For example, significant reduction of growth factor usage, better scalability that allows significant reductions of capital expenditures. And also, we are waiving the scaffolding process because our mini tissues or organoids contain the extracellular matrix themselves, so we don't need to apply this process step.
Grace, if I were to put you on the spot and ask you what the most important topic we cover here at New Food is, what do you think you'd say?
I think I'd have to go with food safety, Josh.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. I mean, we literally write about it every single day, and that's because we know that it's extremely important to all of our listeners, and it's also important to our podcast partner, Merck Life Science too, who are dedicated to providing safe and nutritious food for the entire world.
That's absolutely right, Josh. We're very selective on who we partner with for the podcast, and we know that Merck shares the belief of so many of our audience. The innovation and detailed attention to quality has the ability to transform the way we eat and nourish our bodies.
They've been at it for quite a while too, operating for a whopping 356 years. Merck has more than just a little bit of experience, but they've also got the innovation and cutting-edge technology to ensure reliability and efficiency in your food lab and manufacturing sites.
Be it to verify existing methods, stay on top of changing regulations, or to adopt the latest technologies, you can find it all on sigmaaldrich.com/food testing hero. It's also worth bearing in mind that Merck operates as Millipore Sigma in the US and Canada.
If you missed that URL, don't worry, we'll make sure we drop it in the episode description. Thank you so much to Merck for supporting Food to Go. Make sure you get in touch with your local Merck or Millipore Sigma food safety expert for any testing solutions you require. Back to the podcast.
Roee, do you think that this technology is the kind of science of the future? And is it an affordable solution for the food sector moving forward when it comes to cultivated meat?
We believe that our technology is the next generation of cultured meat. And actually, we took the concept from Iftach Nachman's lab and we applied it in our lab, and we ticked all the milestones that we hoped for. So we achieved amazing cell densities with minimal replacement of media and also very high proliferation rates. All these lead to price parity, which will be much faster than any other cultured meat company. And we are experiencing innovations every day here in the lab that are really bringing us closer to commercialization in a price parity and even below.
You mentioned price parity there, so let's circle back to that. Can you explain the significance of achieving price parity with traditionally aquafarmed eel meat? And are there any methods that you have in mind in order to maintain this in the coming years?
Our strategy is to target only highly priced fish that are at risk and ones with really big market share. And from obvious reasons, we pick a highly priced fish because cultured meat is an expensive product. When we look at our options, we saw what kind of fish are highly priced. We found out that the market price, when you sit in a restaurant in Japan, for example, a cost of unagi kabayaki can cost more than $200. Of course, that in your plate you will see only 100 and 150 gram of product, but the cost per kilogram is more than $100, and that really persuaded us with the big market share and with its population decline, persuaded us to target this highly priced fish. And what we see in the lab and how we plan our process, we can reach price levels that will allow commercialization and high profit for this important cuisine in different markets, including Japan.
Thank you for that insight, Roee. I'll keep a keen eye in the future to see how that pans out. I wanted to turn to a recent article that New Foods published, written by Forsea Foods, where you explained that you held a tasting event. Can you explain to our listeners for our podcast, what was your feedback from this tasting event? How did people find tasting your products in person?
I think that most of them were really surprised about the similarity of the product to the original one. We had many Japanese investors, and because eel is very popular in Japan, so we made sure that there are many Japanese attendees, that ones that are based in Israel, investors and stakeholders of the company. And to many of them, we saw a lot of surprise on their faces when they had this bite. And overall, I think that they were very pleased. And we should keep in mind that we are at the beginning of the development process. So the flavor will be improved for sure, but already now it's a very delicious, similar food products in terms of flavor and texture.
That's really exciting to hear, and I wish I could have seen the look on their faces when they were first
I, I
trying.
we have video of this. I can send them to you.
Absolutely, please do send them my way. And I want to look to the future now because this all sounds super exciting. What steps is Forsea Foods taking to ensure the scalability and, I guess, commercial viability of your cell-cultivated eel?
So first, we are perfecting our process in the lab. So we make sure that we design a mini process that is able to scale. We have a very versatile team that is led by Moria Shimoni, our CTO, Dr. Moria Shimoni. She is a very experienced biotech executive. In her past role, she was used to be the executive VP of R&D of Believer Meats. So she basically knows how to scale the processes. And she is the co-founder of the company, and she built the right team from different kinds of scientists. Each one of them has a very broad overview on different aspects of the cultivated meat production and development and production. And they will all work together to scale our process. And, until now, as I said, we are experiencing amazing results and they are very successful in it. And everything goes back also to the technology that we have. So it really proves that it can achieve the right efficiencies in a short time and in the right price, the right cost per process stage.
Can you share your plans for entering the Japanese market in the near future and the importance of strategic partnerships in this process?
So we have already established several important relationships in Japan, including several letter of intents that have been signed by big food manufacturers in Japan, big fish and seafood companies in Japan, and also companies that deal with eel products. And we also partnered with restaurants in Tokyo to fine tuning the flavor texture of the final product. For us, Japan is the key market for lounge because the Japanese market is the largest market in the world for eel products. And that is why we very early focused on establishing such valuable relationships in this country.
It sounds like you've got a very clear direction there, and I'm excited for your future. Speaking of, what future products and innovations can we expect to see from Forsea Foods?
We have already 6 different cell lines in our lab, but we have not disclosed yet what species they are. We still need to make our mind what would be the second product that we are going to launch to the market. Having said that, also the next product that we are planning to launch to the market would have to answer the 3 strategic criteria that we defined for ourselves. It should be a highly priced fish with substantial market potential, and it should be at risk.
Oh, Roee, I thought we were going to have some exclusive insight there. I know it's a bit of a cheeky question, but we'll just have to keep our eyes peeled in the near future.
Thank you.
One last question from me, and I wanted to pick your brains and see if you can look into the future quickly. Where do you see the cultivated meat and fish market in the next 5 years?
So overall, I think that the entire aqua and marine food domain is looking for alternatives, at least to the current practices in terms of production. So everybody is looking at solutions that will provide substantial quantities to the market, but at the same time will do it sustainably. And cultivated fish and seafood has the potential to produce products that are similar in flavor, texture, and nutritional values to the original products. And in 5 years, I believe that there will be already several key products in the market that will be launched in the different territories, whether it's Asia, in the United States, and also in Europe. I believe that by then, Europe will approve cultivated fish and seafood and cultivated meat products from a regulatory perspective. And I expect that cultivated fish and seafood will take more and more market share from the conventional products.
Roee, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking to you and hearing all about Forsea Foods' work and the exciting updates you've had over the last few months and indeed what's yet to come. So thank you very much for your time and insight.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. I'll be happy to have another interview whenever you wish, because it was such a fun talk. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Roee. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Food to Go. It's been a pleasure to have you listening. I'd like to extend a huge thank you to Roee for his time today. It's been fascinating to hear all of his insight. And another huge thank you to our podcast sponsor, Merck, for making these podcasts happen. You can get the entire back catalogue of the new Food to Go podcast on our website. It is also available on Spotify, on Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts from, they will all be there. Thank you again for listening, and do keep your eyes peeled for the next episode of Food to Go coming your way very soon. But for now, it's goodbye from me.